to the state. Do you wish to make an opening statement?
We do, Judge.
Please proceed.
May I please report? Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I know it was a long day yesterday, but we're just ramping up right now. Yesterday, you heard from Lloyd and Lisa about a lot of hypotheticals and stuff like that. Now we're going to get to the facts of the case. I'm going to kind of lay out where I expect all the evidence to go and what you're going to see for the next probably 2 days. First, you're going to hear from one of the victims in here, the one that survives, but the one that has a permanent scar. You're going to hear how, and see on a video, how this respondent showed up, immediately pulled out a shotgun and shot 2 different times, killing Deshaun Poirier. And how other students were terrified and had to flee. You're going to see that as he's running away, he's sending messages trying to establish an alibi. He's already trying to get away with it because he's thought it out. You're going to hear that that didn't work out for him because the Arlington Police Department was on their game and they caught him almost immediately. They found the gun. We're going to bring it for you later. You're going to also hear about, since that alibi didn't work, as soon as he gets to the detention center, he outcried and said, well, this is because I was sexually assaulted. And you're going to find out that the Arlington Police Department investigated that fully and found out that he made false allegations against 2 other boys to try and justify what he did on that day. The first day back from spring break at 6:30 in the morning. So now he's taking 2 more kids, making false allegations on them, just trying to cover himself up. He's manipulating the system, and you're going to see that repeatedly through this. You're also going to see how he attempted to escape and assaulted a guard in the detention center at one point. Again, he sets it up, asking for an item. When they open the door, immediately assaults him. And you'll see that too, because we've got the video, and we'll bring it to you. This shows how he has been manipulating the system, how he's calculating on what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. He set out that day to kill somebody, and he did. And honestly, when you see how many kids were sitting out there, it's a miracle that only 1 person died, and then 1 other person was shot. Because it could be looking a lot worse. But you'll see all that for yourselves. And at the end of this trial, both Lloyd and myself, we're going to ask you to give them the maximum. Because there's nothing out there that's more terrifying for a parent, more terrifying for a kid, than being sitting there at your school thinking you're safe and getting shot and killed. And we believe that this does deserve the maximum, and that's what we're going to ask you for. Thank you.
Does the respondent wish to make an opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Please proceed.
Please support, Judge. Good morning. First of all, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for paying close attention to the board hour yesterday with Lloyd and Lisa. I paid close attention, and you guys gave really great answers. But let me start with this. Last Thursday, in this courtroom, approximately 9:30, Jonathan stood up in front of Judge Kim and admitted to the crime of capital murder and 3 attempted capital murders. I'm going to say this up front, and we're his defense attorney. It's a horrific, horrific crime. It's horrible. When you see the video, it's going to affect each and every one of you, probably in ways that you haven't felt in years, if you ever felt that way in your life. It's horrific. And that's coming from his defense attorneys. There's no doubt about it. A beautiful teenage boy lost his life, and Jonathan admitted to taking his life. But Lloyd said something during the board hour yesterday. His first PowerPoint, his first slide, is a slide that I use all the time. And it lays out why we have a juvenile justice system. And I don't know if you all remember, but the first 2 things that the legislature puts in there is, why do we have a juvenile justice system? To protect the public, for punishment, and the third thing is rehabilitation. And that's the order they put it in. Under no circumstance, when Ms. Harris gives her closing statement, is she going to come to you all and say, he doesn't deserve a disposition. She would lose all credibility. she's not gonna say he deserves probation at home. She will lose all credibility. He deserves to be punished. And it's a big ask that we're asking 12 of you to punish him. It's a big ask, and we know it, and we thank you. I actually, in quotes, wrote down some of the answers that you all gave yesterday, right? Talking about rehabilitation or punishment, or why we're here, or why we have a juvenile justice system, right? Some of the answers, I just want to say them real quick. Parents need to be held accountable also for the actions of their children, right? That's part of the juvenile justice system. Some people said we can't consider no disposition. We agree with you. There should be a disposition in this case. There's no doubt about it. Kids are different. Some people said kids' brains are different. That's exactly right. That was really insightful. You all really kind of understand the juvenile justice system. I usually don't bring notes up here, but I wanted to quote it right and make sure it's correct. So, when we present our case, one of our first witnesses is going to be a Dr. Stephen Thorne. He's an expert on the juvenile brain. He's going to explain to you the biology and the chemical changes that the juvenile brain goes through, the impulsive part of the juvenile brain, and he's going to lay it out for you. If nothing else, if you have young children now, you'll understand why when they become teenagers, what in the world happened. That they just changed. If you have teenagers now, he's going to explain to you why your teenagers are all of a sudden acting way different than they did when they were your precious 5-year-old. And if you've already gone through this, you're going to understand what your teenagers went through. So, yesterday during board hour, that's just a time for us to have a conversation, and there was some levity and there was some humor. There will be no humor this week. We have victims' families here. Again, heartbreaking, heart-wrenching testimony. It's going to be difficult when the state presents their case. So watch. It really is. I'm giving you advance notice. It's going to be difficult when they show those videos because it's on video. Right? So we're also going to call the chief psychologist for TJJE. When I say TJJE, that is the state prison for juveniles throughout the state of Texas. He's going to come and talk to y'all, and he's going to tell you that TJJE, yes, our mission is to rehabilitate youth, but our mission also is to protect the public and for punishment. Our juvenile prison is not going to a playground. It's prison for kids. And he's going to tell you what the day-to-day activities of those kids are. We're also going to call a psychologist, they're all doctors, who's actually evaluated on them. He's going to tell you his professional opinion of what Jonathan is going through, what he has gone through, his psychological makeup, if I may. And then lastly, a lot of y'all, when you're talking to Lisa and Lloyd, talked about how can we, I believe it was Ms. Harris' slide, said, hey, how can we improve the juvenile justice system? How can we have less kids committing these violent offenses? And a lot of you said, it starts at home. It starts at home. It starts with the parents. It takes a community. I believe one of you actually said, you can pick your own actions, but you don't get to pick the consequences, what Judge Kim says all the time. Might have been you, sir, if I remember right. We all agree with that. We all agree with that. And I leave you with this. You know what's really telling? Since Jonathan first came to our detention center, and Ms. Harris, who was his attorney, and then I came on board, I haven't seen his mom once. Not one time. He's from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. She's from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Ms. Harris has talked to her once on the phone, and I believe Mr. Lewis, the probation officer over there, has talked to her once on the phone. She hasn't come one time to see her son in detention. And I hope I get this right. I don't think she's talked to her son one time while he's been here. Not one time. 0. That's how involved she is in his life. His dad is in jail. He just got committed to 77 months in the federal prison because of the facts of this case. Because he's a felon in possession of a firearm. We've seen his dad twice. He came to the first two, what we call detention hearings. And then he got incarcerated. He was just sentenced 2 weeks ago, I believe, or last week. So, his mama hasn't been involved. You're gonna hear testimony that he was raised by his dad. He moved here when he was approximately 11 years old. This is what you're gonna hear about Jonathan's life. He basically raised himself. Dad was going to work. You're not going to hear anybody say Dad was going to PTA meetings. You're not going to hear anybody say Dad was going to teacher meetings. That young man raised himself. No excuse for what he did, but this is his story. The family representatives that show up here consistently is a second cousin, his great aunt, and his other great aunt. Those are the three family members that Ms. Herrick and I have met throughout this case, and that is it. No other family. Again, no excuses. That's his story. Wasn't going to school. Wasn't passing his grades. He had no role models at all. None. Zero.